Good morning. So yesterday we read about how Sarah told Abraham that she wanted Ishmael and Hagar to leave, and Abraham listened and sent them away. And God helped Hagar and Ishmael and made a promise to them too to make them a great nation. Today's reading is called Put to the Test, and it's found in Genesis chapter 22. Little Isaac grew up quickly. His father and mother loved him dearly. When Abraham looked at him, he must have remembered God's wonderful promise that through Isaac and his children's children, the whole world would be blessed. One day, God spoke to Abraham again. "Take your son Isaac," God said, "your own dear son, and offer him as a sacrifice to me on far-off Mount Moriah." Abraham could not understand why God should ask him to do such a thing. He loved Isaac with all his heart and would gladly have given his own life to save him, but he had learned that it was always best to obey God. He believed that in some way God would still keep his promise about Isaac. Abraham could not bear to tell Sarah what he had to do. Without a word to anyone else, he woke Isaac very early the next morning, and they set off for the land of Moriah, with 2 servants and a donkey to carry the baggage. On the 3rd day of their journey, Abraham saw the mountain that God had chosen. He told the servants to stay with the donkey. Then he and Isaac began to plod slowly up the hillside. Isaac carried a bundle of firewood, and Abraham had his sharp knife and some fire in a brazier. "We have fire and wood, but where is the sacrifice to offer God?" Isaac asked. Abraham felt as if his heart would break, but he quietly answered, "God will provide that, my son." At the top of the hill, Abraham began to pile up loose stones to build an altar. Then he laid the wood on it. At last, Isaac must have guessed the terrible truth. His father gently lifted him onto the altar and tied up his hands and feet. Abraham took his gleaming knife and lifted it high to plunge into Isaac. At that very moment, God spoke. "Stop, Abraham," he called. "Do not hurt the boy. I know now that you trust me and love me, whatever may happen." Abraham's arm dropped to his side. For a moment, he could hardly believe it was true. Isaac was saved. A great wave of happiness and thankfulness swept over him. Trembling, he untied Isaac. He knew now that God would never want human sacrifice such as the people of Canaan had offered to their gods. He looked up and saw a ram caught by its curly horns in the undergrowth. He killed it with his knife. Then thankfully he burned it on the altar as an offering to God. Because back then, Jesus hadn't come yet, so they still needed sacrifice for their sins and to atone for things and as an offering or a thankfulness. But here's a picture of him as God tells him to stop. And there's Isaac on the altar. But that was also like a picture of what Jesus was going to come and do for us. And we have that now because Jesus did come. And we'll learn about that a little later on. But you can ask Jesus to come into your heart and help you obey him, even when it's really, really hard, like it was very hard here for Abraham. All you got to do is say, "Lord, I need you to come in. I need you to forgive my sins. I believe that you sent Jesus to die for me on the cross so that I could have a relationship with you and you can help me obey you." Remember, you're loved and Jesus loves you. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.